Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here is, well, it's to take these huge, sometimes sprawling source materials. Could be geopolitics, could be, 11 seasons of a TV show, and really break them down for you. We want to deliver the key insights, the drama behind the scenes, the surprising technical stuff, basically the things that take you from just watching to really understanding.
And today, yeah, we are definitely strapping in. We're doing a forensic deep dive into, a true giant of cable television.
Yeah.
AMC's The Walking Dead. This show is just a juggernaut. It ran for 11 seasons, 177 episodes. Kicked off on Halloween, October 31st, 2010, which is fitting, right?
Very fitting.
And it ran all the way through November 20th, 2022. And it's all based, of course, on those incredible graphic novels by Robert Kirkman, Tony Moore, and Charlie Adlard.
Now, we're not just going to give you a season-by-season plot summary here, because honestly, the story of The Walking Dead is so much bigger than just what happened on screen. We're here to look at how the story itself evolved, dig into the production side, which was pretty turbulent at times, and maybe most importantly, unpack these really astonishing financial and legal fights that were going on completely behind the scenes of this massive hit.
Right. But first, just to set the scene for anyone maybe less familiar. The basic setup involves two major constant conflicts. First, obviously, the immediate danger, the zombies, or walkers, as the survivors call them.
Walkers, yeah.
They're your classic, slow-moving horror type, drawn to noise, drawn to scent. And the only way to really stop them for good is, well, destroy the brain.
And there's that extra layer of dread, isn't there? That idea established pretty early on. It's never fully confirmed, maybe, but everyone operates as if it's true, that everyone is infected.
Exactly. That's the kicker. You die for any reason, walker bite, gunshot, heart attack, whatever, you come back.
Yeah.
Unless the brain's destroyed first, it just ramps up the tension constantly. Survival isn't just about avoiding bites. It's about managing death itself. Every single death.
Which naturally leads to the second and arguably more interesting conflict over time.
Right, the human element. Once society just collapses, people have to form new groups. Sometimes it's small families, sometimes it's these big fortified towns, and inevitably they clash over food, over land, over, well, just fundamentally different ideas about how to live now, what rules apply, what morals.
And it all kicks off, as most people know, with our protagonist, Sheriff's Deputy Rick Grimes. Wakes up from a coma, King County, Georgia.
Finds the world's completely changed. Utter chaos.
And so begins this incredibly long, desperate, often really brutal journey to find his family. And that search, that journey, pretty much defined the next decade of the show.
If you look at the show's arc, not just season 1, season 2, etc., but think about what they were fighting for at different stages, what kind of security they were searching for. You can actually map out the big thematic shifts pretty clearly across the whole run.
Okay, I like that framing. Let's try that. So the first couple of seasons, S1 and S2, that feels like the search and loss arc, maybe.
Yeah, I think that works. Rick finds his group near Atlanta, right? Lori, Carl, Shane. And they make that desperate trip to the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control.
Hoping for answers.
Right. And all they find is that chilling confirmation, no cure yet. Basically, the world is gone.
Which sends them looking for shelter, leading to season 2 and Herschel Green's farm.
And that farm represents this sort of false sense of security. But it's where the internal drama really starts to cook.
Right, you've got the whole search for Sophia, Carol's daughter.
The love triangle, basically, between Rick, Lori, and Shane, which gets incredibly volatile.
And Lori's pregnant in the middle of all this.
Yeah. And then there's Herschel's conflict. He's keeping walkers locked up in his barn.
Including Sophia, as it turns out.
Including Sophia, because he believed, or maybe just desperately hoped, they could be cured somehow.
Finding Sophia in that barn, and then Rick having to kill Shane, who'd completely gone off the rails. That just shattered any illusion of safety there.
Absolutely. Forced them out. Forced them to accept the harsh reality, which pushes them into, let's call it the next phase, establishment and external war, seasons 3 and 4.
The prison era.
Exactly. After 8 months on the road, they find and secure that prison. It feels like, finally, a defensible position.
But stability is short-lived, because then comes the governor.
Ah, the governor. Their first major human antagonist, leading Woodbury, that seemingly perfect little town.
Which was anything but.
Oh, totally rotten underneath. And that conflict, that war with Woodbury, it cost them so much.
Lori dies during childbirth, an emergency C-section, right?
Yeah, brutal. Which sends Rick spiraling, seeing hallucinations of her.
And Andrea dies in the final conflict with the governor, too. Woodbury falls, its people join the prison group, but the cost was immense.
And even after winning that war, The threats just keep coming. Season 4 reminds them that it's not just other people.
The killer flu.
Yeah, that deadly flu rips through the prison population, shows how vulnerable they still are, even behind walls.
And then the governor comes back, like a bad penny.
He does. For one last devastating attack, he kills Herschel.
Oh, Herschel's death. That was a gut punch, right in front of everyone.
It really was. That attack basically destroyed the prison as a safe haven. The group gets scattered to the winds, all heading supposedly towards this place called Terminus.
Ah, Terminus. Those who arrive, survive. Which leads us into the next era. Maybe the human extremes, seasons 5 and 6.
I think that fits. Because Terminus wasn't a sanctuary.
No, they were cannibals.
Yep. The residents were luring people in and eating them. Just horrific.
And Carol, again, steps up massively there. It leads the charge to free everyone.
She really became formidable, didn't she? That whole experience, escaping Terminus, it pushes them towards Virginia and eventually Alexandria.
Alexandria's safe zone. Looks
Whoa.
perfect, right? Walls, houses.
Looks perfect. But the people inside are soft. They've been protected. They haven't faced the real world out there. They're naive. Dangerously so.
And Rick sees that immediately. He clashes with them, especially with Pete, Jesse Anderson's abusive husband.
Right. And that culminates in Deanna Monroe, the leader, basically giving Rick the order, or maybe the permission, to kill Pete.
That felt like a turning point. Rick essentially taking control, imposing his harder view of the world on Alexandria.
It was. He knew they weren't ready. And season 6 proves him right. Alexandria's fragility just shatters.
Here's the wolves attack.
Using a massive walker horde as cover, yeah. Deanna dies, the Anderson family dies, it's chaos.
And then just when they start to maybe recover,
Yeah.
they run into the Savior.
The Saviors, led by Negan. This is the next big external threat, but different for the governor. They're not about taking over, they're about extortion.
Give us half your stuff.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolute rule through fear and brutality. Which leads directly to that infamous season 6 finale cliffhanger. Someone's gonna die.
Ugh, that wait was agonizing. Which sets up totalitarian rule and revolution, season 7 and 8.
Season 7 opens with just pure brutality.
Yeah.
Negan kills Abraham and Glenn, bashes their heads in with his bat, Lucille.
It was shocking, controversial even, so graphic.
Absolutely. And it works. Initially, Rick submits. He's broken.
But not for long. Michonne pushes him, right? Tells him this isn't living.
She does. And slowly, they start to build resistance. They form alliances with Hilltop, with the Kingdom.
King Ezekiel and Shiva the tiger.
Can't forget Shiva. And even reluctantly with the Scavengers, they prepare for war.
Season 8 is just all-out war. Constant battles, shifting tides. Alexandria falls at one point.
Huge losses on both sides. But the real turning point, the moral one, comes late in the season.
Carl.
Carl gets bitten by a walker. Wasn't even in a big fight, just bad luck.
And before he dies, he makes Rick promise.
Yeah. His dying wish is for Rick to find a way to make peace, to stop the killing. My mercy prevails over my wrath.
That changes everything for Rick. It leads to Eugene sabotaging the Savior's bullets.
Right, makes their guns backfire.
And in the final confrontation, Rick wounds Negan, but he doesn't kill him.
He spares him, cuts his throat, but saves his life, then imprisons him, honoring Carl's wish, trying to build something resembling civilization again.
Which sets the stage for the final act. Collapse and Rebuilding, seasons 9 through 11.
Season 9 starts 18 months later. Rick's trying to build bridges, literally and figuratively, between the communities.
But it's fragile, and it leads to Rick's, well, his supposed death, blowing up that bridge to save the others.
Right. We know now he survived, taken away in a helicopter. But for the characters, he was gone. And that leads to a 6-year time jump.
And when we come back, the communities are estranged, isolated, and there's a new threat lurking.
The Whisperers, led by Alpha. This was a really different kind of enemy.
Creepy as hell, wearing walker skins, moving among the dead, controlling huge hordes.
They were terrifying. And Alpha was ruthless. That massacre at the fair, putting heads on pikes to mark her territory.
After her daughter, Lydia, chose to stay with the communities. Just brutal.
Their threat really dominated season 10. Carol uses Negan, basically lets him out.
To infiltrate the Whisperers.
Yeah, and he does. He kills Alpha, which was, complicated but effective.
Then they deal with Beta, Alpha's second in command, and the rest of the Horde.
A huge final battle.
Yep.
And also in season 10, Michonne finds proof that Rick might still be alive and leaves to find him, setting up their own spin-off later.
Right. Which brings us to the final season, season 11, And the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth, this huge advanced community, almost like the old world. But
But deeply flawed. A rigid class system, corruption at the top with Governor Pamela Milton.
exactly. So the final conflict isn't against walkers or psychos. It's a revolution against a corrupt system. Our group, the Coalition, leads the charge.
The series wraps up with some big moments. Rosita dies saving her daughter. That was rough.
Yeah, really tragic. But also, Maggie finally kind of accepts Negan as an ally. A huge moment of growth for her.
Ezekiel becomes the new, hopefully better, governor of the Commonwealth.
And Daryl. Well, Daryl heads off on his own to see who else is out there. Which, of course, leads directly into a spinoff.
A neat way to end the main story while throwing the doors open for the future of the franchise. Okay, thinking about moments like Carl dying or Rick leaving. It really highlights something core to this show, doesn't it? The constant churn of the cast. People died. A lot.
Oh, absolutely. For a survival horror show to work, the stakes have to be real. Characters you love have to die, often shockingly.
But at the same time, you need anchors, right? Characters who stick around and give the audience someone to root for long term.
Definitely. And when you talk about the anchors of The Walking Dead, two names immediately jump out. Norman Reedus as Daryl Dixon.
Fan favorite from day one, pretty much.
Totally. The quiet competence, the crossbow, Rick's right-hand man. He just embodied survival skill.
And the other one has to be Melissa McBride as Carol Pelletier.
Carol's journey is maybe the most incredible transformation in the entire series. Season 1, she's this meek, abused woman. By the end,
she's one of the most capable, ruthless, and complex survivors there is, making impossible decisions.
Exactly. Her arc really shows how the apocalypse fundamentally changes people, sometimes strengthening them, even if it means, breaking bad sometimes.
Now, speaking of Daryl, this is where the show's relationship with the comics gets really interesting, isn't it? Because Daryl...
He's not in the comics at all. Created entirely for the show.
Which was kind of a masterstroke looking back.
Oh, absolutely. The producers said it themselves. Having a major, beloved character with no comic book counterpart meant nobody knew what would happen to him. Even hardcore comic readers couldn't predict his fate. Kept everyone guessing.
Total unpredictability. But they also play games the other way, right? Taking deaths from the comics but giving them to different characters on the show.
Yeah, they called it transferring deaths. It was clever. They knew a certain death had a huge impact in the comics, but maybe they wanted to keep that comic character alive on this show for longer, or maybe give that impactful death to a character the show's audience was more invested in.
Like Herschel.
Herschel's death is the prime example. In the comics, it's Tyrese who the governor publicly executes like that.
Right, the beheading.
Yeah. But on the show, giving that horrific death to Herschel, this kind, moral father figure played so well by Scott Wilson, it just landed with incredible emotional weight for the TV audience, made the governor seem even more monstrous.
And sometimes characters who are huge in the comics just didn't last as long on screen, like Andrea or Sophia.
Right. Both had much longer, more significant arcs in the comics. Andrea especially becomes a major leader, but the show took them in different directions, killed them off much earlier.
And then Carol is the opposite. Her comic counterpart died way earlier.
Much earlier, yeah. Her transformation into the powerhouse we saw on TV is purely a show invention. So this constant remixing kept even comic fans on their toes. No one was truly safe.
But people didn't just leave because a walker got them or a villain showed up. There were major exits driven by real-world stuff, too.
For sure. Contract negotiations, actors wanting to do other projects, personal reasons.
The biggest one, obviously, Andrew Lincoln leaving as Rick Grimes in Season 9.
Yeah, that was huge. And he was pretty upfront about it. Filming for 6-7 months a year in the Georgia heat, being away from his young family back in the UK, it just became too much.
Understandable, really.
Totally. But his exit caused a huge stir. AMC immediately tried to manage it by promising Rick would return in like a trilogy of theatrical movies.
Which never happened.
No, those plans kept shifting. Eventually, by July 2022, they announced it would be a 6-episode limited series instead, The Ones Who Live, reuniting him with Denai Guerrero as Michonne.
Right, because she also left the main show in Season 10.
Yeah, she had other acting projects, writing opportunities. Another major departure the show had to navigate.
And sometimes actors didn't leave the universe entirely, they just moved house, so to speak.
Exactly. Lenny James, who played Morgan Jones right back in the pilot.
Then came back later.
Then came back, yeah. He was the first big one to cross over, moving his character over to spin-off Fear the Walking Dead after Season 8 of the main show.
And Austin Emilio, who played Dwight, followed him over there later, too.
Mm-hmm. It showed AMC was thinking about this as a connected universe early on.
And you also had cases like Lauren Cohan, Maggie. She left for a bit, didn't she?
She did. There was reportedly a contract dispute, and she went off to star in another show, Whiskey Cavalier.
Which didn't last long, I remember that.
No. And so she was able to return to The Walking Dead as a series regular for the final season, season 11. But it just shows even core characters weren't always locked in. Network TV business still applied.
Fascinating. One last little casting tidbit, the Frank Darabont connection, the first showrunner.
Oh yeah, Darabont definitely liked working with people he knew. He brought several actors over from his movie The Mist.
Laurie Holden, who played Andrea.
Jeffrey DeMunn, who played Dale.
And Melissa McBride, Carol herself.
All three were in The Mist. It was like his little apocalypse repertory company.
And the biggest what if, Thomas Jane was originally going to be Rick Grimes.
That's the story, yeah. When Darabont was first developing the show, apparently pitching it to HBO before it landed at AMC, Thomas Jane was attached to play Rick.
Wow. It's almost impossible to imagine anyone but Andrew Lincoln in that role now. The whole feel of the show might have been different.
Completely different. Crazy to think about. Okay, so shifting gears from the actors and characters to the actual, like, nuts and bolts of making this thing. The production itself was a massive, complex machine.
And one defined, especially early on, by some serious turbulence at the top. The showrunner carousel, you could call it.
Right. Frank Darabont, who developed it, wrote and directed the pilot. Brilliant start. But he was fired halfway through filming season 2.
And it wasn't amicable, was it?
Not at all. It got very messy, very public later on. Disputes over budget cuts AMC wanted, Darabont feeling the network was undermining the show's quality. And, as we'll get into, serious claims about shady business practices.
So Darabont's out. Who steps in?
Glenn Mazzara took over for the rest of season 2 and season 3. He oversaw the transition to the prison. But then he stepped down too.
Why?
The official line was a difference of opinion with AMC about the show's direction moving forward. Seemed like a pattern developing.
Then came Scott M. Gimple.
Gimple took over from season 4 all the way through season 8. He really steered the ship through that whole middle period, including the rise of Negan and the all-out war arc. He provided some stability.
And then for the final stretch.
Angela Kang came in for seasons 9 through 11, and she got a lot of credit, critically, for revitalizing the show after Rick left, dealing with the Whisperers, bringing it home.
And Gimple didn't just disappear, did he? He got promoted.
Right. He became the chief content officer for the entire Walking Dead universe, which tells you a lot about AMC's strategy. They weren't just making a show anymore, they were building a franchise, and they wanted one person overseeing it all.
Makes sense. But okay, beyond the showrunners, the real visual signature of the show, the thing that made it work, was the walkers, the makeup effects.
Oh, absolutely critical. And that was largely down to Greg Nicotero, legend in the special effects makeup world, who was also an executive producer, directed a ton of episodes. But his core contribution was making those walkers look so terrifyingly real.
And he took it seriously. They had zombie school, right?
They did. You couldn't just show up and wander around groaning. Actors hired to be walkers went through training, how to move, how to hold themselves, that specific shambling gait.
Walker etiquette. Don't blink too much.
Exactly. Keep your eyes kind of unfocused. It was all about creating that consistent, unnerving presence, whether it was one walker or 100.
And the makeup itself was tiered, wasn't it? For practical reasons.
Yeah, had to be. You couldn't possibly give every single walker in a giant horde the full treatment. Too expensive, too time-consuming. So they had levels.
What were they?
You had your hero walkers. These are the ones getting the close-ups, doing the biting, the main action.
Yeah.
They got the full works, detailed prosthetics, rotting teeth, cloudy contact lenses, intricate skin decay.
Yeah.
Hours in the makeup chair.
Okay.
Then mid-ground walkers. They'd be in the middle distance. Maybe get some basic facial appliances, highlights and shadows to make them look gone, some blood splatter, enough to sell it from 10 feet away.
And the background guys.
Deep background, way in the back of the horde. Often they just wore pre-made latex masks, maybe some basic distressing on their clothes, relied on sheer numbers and distance to blend in. It was a smart, efficient system.
Allowed them to create that epic scale without breaking the bank on makeup every single day. Smart.
Very. And speaking of budget and logistics, the decision to film almost entirely in Georgia was huge.
Tax incentives, right.
Absolutely. Georgia offered, and still offers, really significant tax breaks for major film and TV productions. It's been a core part of their economy since the early 2000s. The Walking Dead took full advantage.
Season 1 was more Atlanta-based, I remember. Lots of city shots.
Yeah, which involved major coordination, shutting down streets, big logistical hurdles. So as the show got bigger, they moved operations primarily to Riverwood Studios, which is near the town of Sonoya, Georgia.
And that place became their base camp.
Totally. It was this massive 120-acre private studio lot. AMC eventually bought it outright in 2017. It gave them complete control.
And allowed them to build those iconic permanent sets, like the Alexandria walls.
Exactly. The Alexandria Safe Zone walls, the Hilltop Mansion exterior, the Sanctuary complex, even the heaps of trash for the Scavengers junkyard. These were real standing sets built on the lot. Gave the show incredible production value.
And they were smart about reusing things, too.
Oh, yeah. Incredibly resourceful. The sound stages they used for the prison interiors in seasons 3 and 4, they later redressed and reconfigured those exact same sets to become the dark industrial corridors of the Savior's Sanctuary in season 7.
Wow, I never realized that.
Saved a ton of money and time. And they did it with locations, too. Remember Father Gabriel's church from season 5?
Yeah.
Later on, they cleared out that exact same spot in the woods, and that became the clearing where Negan lined everyone up in the season 7 premiere. They knew that Georgia location inside and out.
Okay, another technical thing, the look of the show changed towards the end, didn't it? It always had that gritty film look.
It did. For almost its entire run, seasons 1 through 10, basically, they shot on 16mm film. That was a deliberate choice by Darabont initially, and they stuck with it. Gave it that grainy, slightly desaturated cinematic texture.
But the last season or so felt different, cleaner.
It did. For the final block of episodes, the last 30, they switched to digital cameras. Part of the reason was practical during the COVID-19 pandemic. Digital workflow meant fewer physical touch points, handling film cans, etc.
Made sense for safety.
Yeah, but it definitely changed the aesthetic. The final season looked sharper, cleaner, less gritty. Some fans loved it, some missed the old film look. It was noticeable.
And one last production point, they actually tried to be green on a zombie show.
Surprisingly, yeah. Executive producer Gail Ann Hurd was a big champion for sustainability on set. They were one of the first big shows to really embrace digital workflows, using an app called Dawdle for call sheets, schedule scripts, basically going paperless.
Which saves trees, obviously, but probably helped with logistics, too.
And security, Hurd argued. Less chance of sensitive scripts or schedules being left lying around if it's all on people's phones or tablets.
Smart.
They also did other things, used energy-efficient lighting like compact fluorescence where possible, recycled tons of set materials, used hybrid vehicles for transport. It proved you could make a massive action horror show and still be mindful of your environmental impact, and often save money doing it.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly complex, sometimes turbulent, but ultimately successful production machine. And for years, that machine was fueled by just insane ratings success, right? This show was a monster for AMC.
Oh, it was the show for AMC, their absolute flagship. After a solid start in season 1, averaging around 5 million viewers, the numbers just exploded. From season 3 right through season 7, you're talking 10 to 17 million viewers per episode consistently. For basic cable, that was just unheard of.
And that season 5 premiere, that was the peak, wasn't it?
Record-breaking. October 2014, 17.3 million total viewers. At the time, that was the single most watched episode of any series in basic cable history.
Wow.
And critically, it wasn't just total viewers. It dominated the 18 to 49 demographic, the one advertisers crave. It was beating pretty much everything on broadcast and cable during its run. It was a phenomena.
But, like, nothing stays at that level forever, right? The ratings did eventually start to slide.
They did. After the peak around season 5 and holding strong through 7, you started to see a noticeable, steady decline. By the end of season 9, the numbers were back down to levels closer to season 1 or 2.
Why do you think that happened? Viewer fatigue?
Partly, maybe. 11 seasons is a long time. But a lot of it was attributed to specific creative choices. The Negan storyline in season 7, particularly the premiere violence, was really controversial and turned some viewers off. It felt grim, maybe even nihilistic for a while.
And losing major characters definitely hurt, too. Rick's departure, especially.
Absolutely. Losing your central protagonist after 9 seasons is bound to have an impact.
But credit where it's due. Creatively, they managed to bounce back somewhat, didn't they? Critics seemed to like season 9.
They really did. While season 7 and 8 got pretty mixed reviews, people called the violence in the S7 premiere gratuitous. The war arc felt drawn out to some. Season 9, under Angela Kang, was widely praised. Critics said it felt refreshed, more alive than ever, even without Rick, so they could still deliver quality.
Okay, but now we need to get into the really juicy stuff. The deep dives behind the curtain, the legal battles, and this concept of vertical integration.
Right, this is where the business side gets fascinating and, frankly, pretty ruthless. It all stems from how AMC set itself up as both the production company and the network airing the show.
Explain that. How does vertical integration work here?
Okay, so typically a network like AMC buys a show from an outside production studio, right? They pay that studio a license fee per episode. The studio makes its money, the network makes its money from ads.
Standard model.
Right. But with The Walking Dead, AMC owned the network and the production arm, AMC Studios. They were essentially making the show in-house.
Okay, so they're paying themselves.
Exactly. And this is crucial for the lawsuits. When a network buys a show from itself, it sets something called an imputed license fee. Basically, it decides on paper how much the network arm is paying the studio arm for the show.
And the allegation was that AMC set that fee incredibly low.
Unconscionably low, according to Frank Darabont and later other producers like Robert Kirkman and Gail Ann Hurd. By setting this artificially low internal price, they made it look like The Walking Dead, the biggest show on cable, was actually losing money on paper.
Wait, hang on. You said it was getting 17 million viewers. How could it possibly be losing money?
It wasn't, not in reality. It was generating massive advertising revenue for the AMC network. But the accounting for AMC Studios, the production arm, showed huge deficits because the license fee it was receiving from the network arm was deliberately kept far below market value.
Why would they do that?
Profits. Guys like Darabont had contracts that promised them a percentage of the show's profits. If the show never officially showed a profit on the studio's books because the license fee was too low to cover production costs, then AMC wouldn't have to pay out those profit shares.
That seems incredibly cynical.
That was precisely the argument in the lawsuits. Darabont claimed that after season 2, the show was reporting an internal loss of something like $49 million.
For the biggest hit on cable, that's insane.
It's accounting magic, basically. And Darabont argued his firing was timed specifically to screw him out of his profit participation fully vesting.
So he sued them.
Oh yeah, big time. In late 2013, the lawsuit dragged on for nearly 8 years. He was initially seeking damages well over $280 million.
And the outcome?
A massive settlement. In July 2021, AMC agreed to pay Darabont and his agency, CAA, $200 million, plus future royalties. That number tells you everything you need to know about how much money was really at stake.
Wow. $200 million. And he wasn't the only one suing over this, right?
No. Robert Kirkman, Gail Ann Hurd, other producers, they filed similar suits, making the same arguments about the low license fee and suppressed profits. Their potential damages were estimated to be maybe even up to $1 billion combined.
Did they win too?
Actually, no. In a somewhat surprising ruling in April 2022, a judge sided with AMC in the EP's case. The judge basically said that while the deal was clearly very unfavorable to the producers, AMC had technically followed the specific language of their contracts when calculating those profits, or lack thereof.
So AMC won that round, legally speaking.
Legally, yes. But the combined lawsuits paint this picture of years of intense conflict over the massive revenues the show was generating. The corporate drama was intense.
Okay, shifting from financial battles to a much more somber note, we have to mention the tragedy on set during season 8 filming.
Yeah, the death of stuntman John Bernecker in July 2017. It was awful.
What happened?
He was performing a stunt that involved a fall from about 21 feet. He was supposed to land on safety cushions below, but he missed them, hit the concrete floor, suffered a fatal head injury.
It's horrible. Was there a lawsuit?
Yes. His mother filed a wrongful death suit against the production companies involved, TWD8 and Stalwart Films. She argued they hadn't taken adequate safety precautions, not enough padding, maybe not enough rehearsal for what sounded like a complex stunt near a balcony railing.
And the result?
The jury found the production companies were negligent. They awarded his family $8.6 million in civil damages. It was just a tragic, stark reminder that even on a set dealing with pretend monsters, the physical risks are very real, and safety has to be paramount. So despite, the ratings eventually cooling off, despite the behind-the-scenes turmoil, the lawsuits, the tragedies, AMC clearly knew they had something incredibly valuable with The Walking Dead. The success wasn't just about the main show finishing its 11 seasons. It was about launching a whole universe, a franchise.
Yeah, it really became its own little media empire, didn't it? Starting with the essential accessory for any big genre show.
Talking Dead, the live after show, hosted by Chris Hardwick. Absolutely crucial for fan engagement. dissecting every episode, bringing on cast and crew, kept the conversation going all week.
Then came the actual spin-offs. The first big one was Fear the Walking Dead.
Right. Premiered in 2015, ran all the way to 2023. That was positioned as a companion series, set initially in L.A., showing the start of the outbreak, the collapse of society, which the main show skipped over with Rick in a coma.
Different vibe, different characters, initially at least.
Very different. Then they tried other formats, too, like The Walking Dead, World Beyond.
That was the limited series, right? Only 2 seasons.
Yeah, 2020 to 2021, specifically focused on the first generation to come of age during the apocalypse. These kids who call themselves endlings, exploring a different perspective.
And Tales of the Walking Dead.
That was an anthology series, launched in 2022. Standalone episodes, different characters each time, some new, some familiar faces like Alpha Pre-Whisperers. Gave them flexibility to tell smaller stories without multi-season commitment.
But the current strategy seems very focused on bringing back the heavy hitters, the original stars.
Absolutely. That's clearly the core of the franchise now. You've got Dead City.
Maybe in Negan in New York, who would have thought?
Right. An unlikely pairing navigating Manhattan. Then The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon taking arguably the most popular character all the way to France, bizarrely enough.
Which actually worked surprisingly well.
It did. And then the big one everyone was waiting for. The Ones Who Live. Finally bringing Rick and Michonne back together to finish their story.
Plus, they're already talking about more Tales from the Walking Dead universe. It just keeps expanding.
It shows AMC pivoted. When the main show's massive audience started to shrink, they didn't abandon the IP. They doubled down on the characters people were most invested in. Smart move.
And the footprint goes way beyond just TV shows, too. There were webisodes early on.
Yeah, little shorts like Torn Apart or Red Machete, filling in backstory details.
Huge amounts of merchandising. Those McFarlane Toys action figures were everywhere.
Very detailed figures, too. Look just like the actors.
And maybe the ultimate sign of making it? The parodies.
Oh, tons of parodies. Saturday Night Live did sketches.
But the king has to be bad lip reading.
La bibida bibidum.
Yes. That spoof of Rick and the governor talking nonsense.
It was hilarious. And David Morrissey, the actor who played the governor, he actually confirmed this happened. For years after that video came out, fans would just randomly yell, "Hey, la bibida bibidum," at him on the street.
That's amazing. He apparently had no idea what they were talking about at first.
That's when you know you've permeated pop culture. When nonsense phrases from a parody stick to your character.
So the show, despite everything the showrunner shuffles, the ratings drop, the legal wars, it just proved incredibly resilient.
It really did. It managed to navigate all that chaos and successfully launch this sprawling, ongoing franchise that people are still watching. #outro.
So wrapping this up, we've gone through the whole bloody journey, 11 seasons of survival, evolution, community building, community collapse. We've looked at the characters who endured, the ones who didn't, the production machine that made it happen. But as we finish this deep dive, maybe the most stunning takeaway, the real irony here, comes from those lawsuits we discussed. The source material makes it unavoidable.
Yeah, think about it. The Walking Dead was, for years, the biggest show on cable TV. A massive financial success by any real-world measure, generating fortunes in ad revenue.
Yeah.
And yet, because of that vertical integration model, because of the deliberately low license fee ANC set internally, the official books for the production company were designed to show it running at a loss.
Denying huge profit shares to the creative partners who helped build it, the people like Darabont, Kirkman, Hurd.
The fight over the money, the corporate maneuvering to control the profits, it was honestly just as brutal, just as calculating as any conflict we saw on screen between Rick and Negan, or Carol and Alpha.
It really makes you think. In the end, maybe the most dangerous predators weren't the walkers outside the walls. Maybe they were the ones inside the boardroom crunching the numbers.
A sobering thought, isn't it? Even in the apocalypse, the human drama of greed and power plays out. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.